It's Election Day in America, and the polls in Oklahoma have just closed. More than 1.4 million Oklahomans, almost 70% of registered voters, were expected to vote today. In many precincts, the lines were long. The wait was well over an hour as Oklahomans voted for president, seats in Congress and the state legislature, judicial retention, 6 state questions, and numerous county and municipal races. Good evening, I'm Dick Pryor. We'll be here in the Oklahoma Votes 2012 election headquarters for the next 4 hours with results, interviews, analysis, and live reports from candidate watch parties.
Okay, let's talk about local politics for just a moment. Bill, you brought this up. Senate District 7, which is Gene Stipe's old seat in the state Senate, is up for grabs. LeBlanc, I believe, had that seat and he was termed. So
it's still Stipe's seat, though.
It's still Stipe's seat, yeah. This is a stalwart, this is as solid a Democratic seat as you can get.
That's right.
You're thinking a Republican could win this?
Yeah, Larry Boggs, I think, is going to do very well tonight. I mean, J. Paul Lane is the Democrat in that race. Keep in mind that that 2nd district is voting heavily for Romney, and I think that that's the reason why we're going to see Mark Wayne Mullen win that. My pre-election polling says that, so I hope I'm right. But I think that what we're going to see is a coin a new phrase, which is the Romney Democrats in Oklahoma. And that is that they're going to have to find out how they can get those Romney Democrats to vote for Romney and then cross back over and vote. And that's becoming harder and harder to do. Keep in mind, Bob, that straight party voting has really what carried the Republicans 2 years ago, and it may carry them tonight as well.
In fact, there is some speculation, I should say, that Oklahoma County's longtime sheriff, John Wetzel, may be in trouble tonight because of the straight party voting issue. That would be a real shocker. I think that would catch everybody off guard.
And I think you'll see that in other legislative races as well, where you will see incumbents, particularly on the Democratic side, who don't win by their usual percentage because of straight party voting. So many people will vote straight Republican, and that will take votes away from the Senators Susan Paddocks and some of the other Democratic representatives in the House. I think we'll see that across the board tonight.
I was hearing that same thing about Susan Paddock. I mean, that would be a real shocker, I think.
And I think the new way we define being the reddest state in the country won't necessarily be if all 77 counties go for Romney. I think it'll be how many more seats the Republicans pick up in the state. I mean,
it's very interesting when you look at Oklahoma. It is quietly one of the most demographically diverse states in the United States. And one of the first things we have to be aware of is, as large as the state is, it's actually concentrated in a relatively narrow area. In fact, if you were to look at a map of the state, looking at the population density of the state, most of the population is centered in 2 major metropolitan areas, in the Tulsa metro area, Oklahoma City, and then also Cleveland County. And in fact, 75% of the state's population is in a narrow corridor, 120 miles long, 40 miles wide, surrounding I-44. But it's not just urban density that makes Oklahoma geographically distinct and helps design our political geography. If we were to look at the nature of our communities, the nature of our counties, we discover that there are a variety of very different communities in the state of Oklahoma. The Pew Charitable Trust has done a study called Patchwork Nation, which can be accessed at patchworknation.org, where they have examined the census data in detail of the state of Oklahoma. And in fact, if we were to look at Oklahoma and looking at the map that's on the screen right now, we discover there are 4 distinct types of communities that define Oklahoma. These tan counties are evangelical epicenters. These are mainly rural and small town communities with large evangelical Christian populations that largely define local life and define the electorate. The brown counties, Oklahoma County, Tulsa County, Canadian County, for example, are what are referred to as boomtown communities, communities that have growing production, growing suburbs, growing population centers, growing entertainment districts. The green counties are the major campus centers, the major educational centers that are more defined by young, secular, educated voters. These communities, typified by Norman, are very different from the rest of the state. And then finally, what are termed the service worker centers, the red counties that you see shaded on this map. These counties, for example, Payne County, are typified by a decline of any industry other than restauranting, hotels, and basic community services. So
the Republicans have a decided majority, and it may be getting bigger tonight. Can the two sides come together to work on those issues come the next legislative session?
Sure, we can, and we hope to. What you see, though, unfortunately, as you see this Republican majority growing in the state of Oklahoma, you're not growing the majority with folks who are sort of middle-of-the-road, conservative Republicans. You're growing that majority with folks who are on the fringe of the political spectrum, and they are, as that group grows stronger and stronger in the state, it becomes ever more difficult for me to negotiate and work with them as the Democratic leader, and becomes more difficult for the Speaker to negotiate with them. And so our hope is, I know TW shares this, our hope is that we can sort of put aside the fringes of both parties, get the group, a coalition of us together that can hopefully move the state forward.
Speaker-elect Shannon, that is something that's kind of a good news, bad news situation. Your majority continues to grow. Some people say, though, the Democrats found this out for sure for many years in Oklahoma, that as your numbers grow, you do have more possibilities for factions to develop.
Well, you know, I embrace the diversity of thought and opinion. I think that it's a good thing that we've got people across the political spectrum with different ideologies. Again, it's about leadership, bringing people together, finding common ground, and moving Oklahoma forward. Because I do think, in the end, that most of our candidates, all of our candidates that we have, in both chambers even, I think want to do what's best for Oklahoma. We may disagree about how to get there. And I think that, you know, another thing, I'm a big fan of the two-party system. I think the two-party system has made this country great. I think that bipartisanship and partisanship have gotten a bad rap. If we can focus on the issues, we can disagree like Scott Inman and I do on many issues. I point out where he's wrong a lot. But
very infrequent, I'll be honest with you.
But the truth is, you know, when it comes time to govern and do what's best for Oklahoma, I think people on both sides of the aisle are willing to do that.
Now let's go to Steve Bennett, who is with Congressman Tom Cole.
A lot of excitement in this room, especially as the results of the congressional races come in. Congressman, your race has already been called. You're going back to Washington, and it's starting to look like you're going to take an all-Republican congressional delegation back with you.
Well, we're pretty proud of that. It's the first time in state history that every federal office, every statewide office been held by a Republican. So we're very, very proud of the people, honestly, that made it happen. They worked a lot of years. It's a big night for Republicans.
Obviously, we haven't called the presidential race yet, but there's a lot of talk that this might end up being a status quo election. At the end of the day, what does that mean to Oklahoma?
Well, first of all, I hope it's not. Obviously, I hope Governor Romney wins. And very, very close tonight. We don't know which way it's going to go. Look, if it's a status quo election, you sit down and try and work and get things done. And I think what Oklahomans want done is pretty clear. They want less federal spending. They don't want their taxes to go up. They want us to prioritize what we do spend, so the military comes first, and they expect less intrusion in their personal lives. So those are the things I'm very comfortable this delegation will fight for. It's what it's been fighting for, really, for many, many years.
Some fast movements in just the last few minutes. CNN is reporting Barack Obama 256 to 191. Remember, 270 electoral votes are needed to win. Fox News is reporting 262 to 203. And just in the last couple of minutes, NBC News has said Barack Obama 274, Mitt Romney 203. Let's now go to Chicago. Ray Suarez of the PBS NewsHour with Rahm Emanuel.
I'm with Rahm Emanuel, as you mentioned, and Mr. Mayor, we've been talking about the fact that billions of dollars have been spent on this campaign, and as far as you can see, not that much has changed.
Well, yes and no. I mean, one is you're going to have a Democratic Senate, Republican House, and a Democratic President. That's what it looks like at this point. We're trending that way. That said, what is also different is the choice. I think elections have meaning. In '96, we had a big election. Bill Clinton went on to win. We had a balanced budget agreement 9 months later. The Republicans will see this election. The choice could not have been clearer. They spent a ton of money trying to defeat him. The American people spoke, and I think that gives the president a clear mandate to lay before the Congress his agenda to strengthen the middle class. So yes, not a lot of chairs move, but when the voters speak in a democracy, that has purpose and meaning.
So even with roughly the same proportions in the national legislature, you're saying the argument for obstruction in the House is no longer there if the president maintains his lead?
Yeah, I think that. I think. Oh, there he's right there. Okay, I think this. What I believe is that the Republicans, now that he got reelected, cannot.
They're just. responding to CNN projections of Obama as the winner of the next election.